would and about
Yes.
5 years of competing.
Yes. Yeah. So my first competition I did back in 2017. It was the Baltimore Open over there at Exile Fitness there in Rosedale, Maryland, and
Mhm.
it was a great experience. I'm really glad that I did it, and that was like just me dipping my toes in the water with powerlifting for the first time. And you know what a lot of people don't know is that the only reason that I got into powerlifting in the first place was because of you. Because we were seeing each other in the
Oh,
gym.
I don't know if I even knew that.
Yeah, so dude, this all started with you, man. And so I we
Oh,
would
that's
see each
awesome.
yeah, we would see each other in the gym, and we had that good like gym relationship. Like, okay, um I see you training hard, you see me training hard. Now granted, I'm
Yep.
not anywhere near in the realms of like the numbers that you are, but we definitely had a pretty intensive attitude and pace when it came to training, and we took ourselves quite seriously in the weight room. And because from like over the years, I've what's funny, I have had some friends give me a hard time and say that when I go into the gym, I turn into Gym Cody. And like
Okay.
feel like you know what that means, right? So like you go
Oh,
in the
100%. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, because like some people they do have that attitude where like they're the same person like when they're training is like when they're just kind of like hanging out with some friends and whatnot. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but once I really started trying to take things more seriously, I just found myself like as soon as I took pre-workout, it
Mhm.
was like a switch flipped in my head. And it didn't matter like what kind of pre-workout it was. Like I was never looking for the best and strongest, product to get me amped up to train because I loved doing it, 5, 6 years ago, and I love doing it today. Like I still get this joy from
Mhm.
like mixing pre-workout out in my kitchen, getting ready to go train and the drive to the gym, just, getting it, getting your head right, listening to some music or whatever. As soon as I walk in that gym, I'm locked in, I'm ready to go. And yeah, I have my moments where like I'll chat with some people, but like
Yeah.
my workout is what's important to me in that moment because and this just as well as I, but like you can give somebody your time and attention, and but like if you allow that to pull you away from your workout, the only one who loses is you.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and because ultimately like if your workouts are getting messed up because you can't stay focused, when you're in your end results, you're not going to be able to be like, I shouldn't have been talking in the gym, or I shouldn't have been doing this or that in the gym. Like it's all going to be, it's all going to be on you.
Yeah. And I would how I think about it, were you much of a reader in like high school, or you have any books or magazines that you like to read?
So I wasn't back then. um 2020, everybody's favorite year, I had a New Year's resolution that I wanted to become a reader. So I did. I forced myself to read at least 10
Okay.
pages a day, and that turned into a like legitimate passion for reading. And I think since then I've read, anywhere from
Oh
20 to
wow.
30, and something that I still continue to do today. And I mean, I'm not going to lie to you; they're not all about like fitness and stuff. But I'm not like a big fiction reader. Like I
Mhm.
like about like habits, and
Yeah.
most recently my focus has shifted more towards like finance and like learning about business and money and stuff,
Mhm.
uh, in terms of what I've been reading just recently.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I really like Peter Lynch has some good books as
Mhm.
well. I feel like we could talk about that, go down the rabbit hole, but to kind of connect that. So I'll preface this with I'm not what you would consider a reader, probably. So like conventionally, I'm not a reader. I don't like to read books, but I like to read articles and like scientific articles. I'm with you on the fiction. I'm not a huge fan. I stick to the nonfiction stuff. But what you were describing in the gym, that focus, I I would almost think of it like intentionality, right? You go in with intention to get
Hmm.
better in the gym. It's the same thing with reading, and I'm sure you've experienced this with how much you've read at this point. You know how you can sit down with a book or an article or whatever it is, and like actually read it, but not get anything out of it. Do you know that feeling I'm talking about? You're
Dude,
like, oh, I've gone through 3 pages, but what did I read?
and that drives me completely bonkers because like I've I had, ADD, ADHD. I was diagnosed with both as a kid. And like, that was my biggest challenge when I was trying to teach myself. You have to teach yourself how to read, like, not just to read, but to absorb the information. Like, for reference,
Hmm.
my wife, Emily, she could tear through a Harry Potter book in a week. That would take me like 3 months, 4 months. And
Yeah.
because I, yeah, maybe back when I was in school, like if my eyes glossed over the text, I considered that as I read that. Now it's like if I read something
Hmm.
and I turn the page and I can't even remember what I just read, I will go back and read it again. And I will repeat that until it sticks because if not, I just feel like I'm wasting my time. And but no,
Yeah.
I
And I
completely
think,
glossed.
oh, go ahead.
No, I realized I completely glossed over when I mentioned that it was you who got me into powerlifting, but you did approach me one day in the gym, and I do remember this conversation very vividly because again, I just feel like this was one of those turning points, and I guess you would call my lifting career. And you came up to me and you said, I
Yeah.
see you a lot. You train very hard. It obviously looks like what you're doing for the most part when it comes to moving weights. Have you ever considered doing something
Hmm.
with it instead of just coming in here and beating yourself up for the sake of coming in here and beating yourself up? Now, I don't know if those were the words used exactly, but I do remember that that's kind of how you hinted. Like, I think that maybe it would be worth you doing something with this. And
Yeah.
I thought about it, and that is really. And then once I committed to it, I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's do it. Uh, I never looked back. So like it really, this whole thing with powerlifting with me started because you saw something in me at that time that I didn't even see in myself. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. And that's awesome. It makes me feel good that I could be a part of that story and that process. And obviously, you know, you've just proven that whatever I saw and made me say that in the moment was 100% there.
Yeah, and in every competition that I've done, you know, like because we've had, I've had the privilege to not only like